help us for them to establish themselves in this new union. The theme I am giving, that is إنهم فتية آمنوا بربكم وزدناهم إيمانا. This verse actually is extracted from a chapter called Surah Al-Kahf. Before I go deeper into the topic, I want to agitate your mathematical and arithmetical curiosity about the Quran concerning this verse and the chapter. Janimbe dun nakadiya mubake because module konsanka nyame mandinga kawan surah kawan. I want to agitate your mathematical and arithmetical curiosity about the Quran by selecting this very important chapter and just deriving a single verse out of it. If it had been yesterday, which was the 18th of Ramadan, a big miracle would have been demonstrated here in your presence here. But today is on the 19th. But 19th is 18th, it's yet to come. 19th is not yet completed. You know, Surah Al-Kahf is composed of 110 verses. And it is the 18th chapter of the Holy Quran. And this chapter, the central message of this chapter is the essence of time. Based on that confirmed conviction in the unity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his encompassing power in controlling events. I want you to give me your ears because we want to just throw a hydrogen bomb concerning this very chapter of the Holy Quran. You see, this is the 18th chapter of the Holy Quran. It is composed of 110 verses. And the word cave, the sleepers of the cave, Kahf, is mentioned in this chapter 6 times. And whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is divining time in creation, he used 6. خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ فِي سِتَّةِ أَيَّامٍ. By just using this 6, because the word Kahf, which means cave, because the name of the chapter is Surah Al-Kahf. And Kahf is mentioned in this chapter 6 times. And time is mentioned in the Quran based on realities on 6 different occasions. And that 6, if you should use 6 and divide it into 110, is going to give you 18, exactly the number and the number of the chapter in the Holy Quran. A mathematical miracle. A big mathematical miracle for that matter. Yeah, but using a verse as a theme is invalid as long as it is not connected to the prayer and to the part to the verse that are preceding or coming after it. Who were the youths? And what was the message? And what was the essence of their message? These were youths. It has no relation with history, a specific geographical relation. It has a meaning that is universal in application. It is divinely revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in this very chapter, from verse number 9 to verse number 27 of Surah Al-Kahf, if all the youth in the Gambia, particularly, especially, and as an assignment primarily, for Fegami to do it, read from verse number 9 to 27. Any program of success you want to embark on, if you apply the principles in these verses, there is no doubt that the end results of your endeavors will be successful. You know why? Because these were youths. These were youths. What is a youth? To be a youth doesn't mean that you have a special age. No. It is the ability of your mind to produce what is good for the community and for yourself. This is what is called a youth. These were youths. They rebelled against a system, an oppressive system that was just espousing, fostering, and forcing people to adopt it by force against their will. That is the power to use against people, against the fitra. Allah says subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا لَا تَبْدِيلَ لِخَلْقِ اللَّهِ. I'm not expanding, but I'm trying to squeeze in so many things so that it can be of benefit to you. These are youths. They rebel against a system. What system is that? It is called the system of divisive multiplicity of Godhead. Listen to this word or this statement. The youth, they rebel against what is called the multiplicity of Godhead that society actually subscribed to when they were in existence then. That's why it is a story that if all the youth abide strictly by its teaching, the Muslims will be on the safer side of history. إِنَّهُ فِتْيَةٌ آمَنُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ. They were not more than 10, and they were not less than 9. So they were in between. The figure is not important, but their attitude, their way of doing things, their confirmed belief, and their belief in the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are standing against injustice and the multiplicity of Godhead is what is important, is what we should try to emulate and put it in our lives. But in Surah Al-Kahf as well for the youth, number 1, this were youths and they have a confirmed belief in their creator, that is Allah. And they asked Allah, they sought refuge in Allah's power, and Allah responded to them, and revelation came to them that they should go and found and refuge in a mountain. And they went there. Look at it. Look at the sequence of events in their life. This were youth, they sought Allah's intervention in their life because they never want division in creation. They never want division in their attitude towards the Creator, who is Allah. So anywhere there is division, it is divisive attitude. Anywhere there is that inclination of division, it is reprehensible in Islam. So this youth, their position is Amanu bi Rabbikum. That's why wherever youths are united in faith and they are struggling to achieve a unified purpose, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always intervening in their life, and it is leading them where they are going to get refuge and where they are going to escape with the righteous path that they have chosen for themselves. These are youth. They believe in Allah. So Fegame, you should believe in Allah. You are a believer, but increase your belief, because Allah says, وَزِدْنَاهُمْ إِيمَانًا وَرَبَطْنَا عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ. But what did they do? They stood up against injustice and announced it and declared it stoically without any fear. So as a youth Fegame, the Quran is advising you to do likewise. Stand in front of injustice. Stand in front of evil. Use your power as a unified body. Use your individual wisdom and understanding and knowledge. Stand in the face of evil and try to eliminate evil. This is why the Quran says, as a historical mission, for all the Muslim youths, وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْحَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. This is not about authority or presidents or you name them, the alcalos or the qadis. It is about you, the youth, because Islam originally relies on the youth. So this is why Surah Al-Kahf, this verse you quoted, actually here these youth, they stood in the face of divisiveness. They stood in the face of injustice. They used in the face of tyranny. They used in the face of ignorance. And they built that strong, power, which actually catapulted them and elevated their spiritual sophistication by the intervention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With all the scientific miraculous realities that attended their entry into the cave. But we are not here for that. But I want to just reiterate one very important point. You quoted this verse, Surah Al-Kahf, concerning the youth, the sleepers of the cave. But you know that in the same chapter, there are 4 different stories mentioned. From the youth of the cave, the sleepers of the cave, right into Moses when he was seeking more knowledge, right into the simile of the person who is given a guardian and the other one was not given, and the story of who is called Dhul-Qarnayn. All these 4 stories are connected. You cannot just rely on the sleepers of the cave for you to understand the verse you have quoted. You have to go, it is a thread that is just crossing all the stories and it is binding them together. If you don't connect them, you disconnect them. And if you disconnect them, you will not get anything out of it. These are youths. That's why in the same context, the same youths, When Allah empowered them and gave them refuge, they slept for 300 years in the solar calendar. 309 years in the lunar calendar were converted. But when they were awoken by Allah's power, look what actually happened. One of them said, okay, give money to one of our members to go to the market to find something food for us to, keep ourselves, as a sustenance. So this tells you as a youth, to work, try to build capital is something which is important. This verse is telling you that even the people sleeping for 300 years, after they have been restored into, awakeness and consciousness, these people are conscious that it's a duty that money must be with them for them to sustain themselves. As a youth, Fegami, I beg you, go into economic, financial activities so that you can build your base. Without an economic base, whatever you are doing theoretically can never bring any fruits. It's derived from the same context. And as a youth organization, I beseech you today. My learned brother Drame said it. The world is in a state of war. And this war is not by guns or by bullets or by missiles. It is by ideas and ideologies. The Freemason is increasingly becoming so powerful. The Freemason is in your mobile, in your mosque, in your center, in your headquarters. The Freemason is everywhere. You may entertain the false impression that you are liberated, but you are not liberated. Because the Freemason is controlling you. Because he is the only anti-value. The system of the Freemason is anything that is valuable, morally, spiritually, socially, politically, economically. For the position of the Freemason is to eliminate and destroy the existence, the concept of Allah in the minds of the youth. So how are you going to go about it? What is your defense mechanism? Your defense mechanism is to go back to the Holy Quran. Surah Al-Kahf is your mechanism. This is why in the same episode of the sleepers of the cave, when they woke up, they started asking themselves, how long were they sleeping? How long were they sleeping? Never ask yourself, how long have I been in existence as an organization? But try to ask yourself and evaluate how much have you achieved as an organization. Do that. Because these people, when they ask each other, kam labistum? Some of them say, labisna yawman aw ba'da yawm. But they realize that it is useless, it is frivolous to ask about time. Because the whole chapter is about the essence of time. It's about the essence of time. وَلْتَنْظُرُ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ لِغَدٍ. Time is our problem. Without controlling time, we cannot be people. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created us and brought us in this world, you know why we die? You know why we expire? You know why we are given certain time that we should live on this earth and we die? Because Allah is in control of time. But we human beings are in control of space. Only Allah is in control of time. So I'm talking about time. These people actually, they don't want to waste their time on these frivolous arguments and controversies, as we are witnessing in the Islamic community, especially among the youth, or the misinformed or uninformed or disinformed youths. It's a problem. They don't waste their time on that. This is why immediately after that chapter, that verse, look what the Quran is saying. سَيَقُولُونَ ثَلَاثَةٌ وَرَابِئُهُمْ كَلْبُهُمْ وَيَقُولُونَ سَبْعَةٌ وَثَامِنُهُمْ كَذَا يَقُولُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, رَجَمًا بِالْغَيْبِ. They are just conjecturing. It is not true. What is essential is factual knowledge. Factual knowledge. As a youth organization, make sure that you build that database of knowledge. Without knowledge, don't fool yourself. You will never progress. And what is knowledge? Knowledge is how much you read, or what university you went to, or what degree you were able to achieve. It's not that. Knowledge is the little you know, you apply it behaviorally in your conduct, and it is manifested, demonstrated, and people know that this person is knowledgeable. That is knowledge. Do away with that colonial shackles of degrees, PhDs and masters. I'm not disrespecting them. They are an achievement. But I want you people to understand that to be a knowledgeable person is to be a practical person. To be a knowledgeable person is to do the will of Allah. To be a knowledgeable person is to do it according to the principles laid down by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what is knowledge? Knowledge is simply good conduct. Knowledge is simply truth. Knowledge is simply something that is established invariably. It never changes. So when we say factual knowledge, these youths were empowered with wisdom and factual knowledge. So in fact, I said the thread stretched from this story to the story of Moses for the youth to learn. As a youth, make sure that you continue learning as much as you can. Make sure that you keep researching, exploring. You try to explore uncharted territory. It is time we stop what we call imitation. Intellectual imitation is an intellectual crime. To be intellectually imitating others in every small or big thing, you are committing an intellectual plagiarizing crime. It's time you innovate. It's time you go into the unknown. Try to explore the unknown. Try to bring in something new. Somebody would say, no, how can we do it? Bigger minds are there. The Tobago is there. The Indian is there. The Chinese is there. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, all of us are descendants of Adam, and Adam was taught and given the power, the values and the qualities, the capabilities, the abilities to know everything. As long as you are a descendant of Adam, you are entitled to know what you want to know. So knowledge is the most important empowerment tool that we can have. So Moses alayhi salam, Moses was searching for knowledge. Because of the constraint of time, I'm jumping from one episode to another episode, 4 episodes, but all of them carry big wisdoms. Everybody must understand that. As a youth organization, make sure that you explore the unknown. Moses went into the unknown because Moses said he was prepared to go for even 100 years in order to achieve the wisdom that he went after, and actually he did it. And as a youth organization, make sure that you are critical and analytical. When Moses was introduced to his master, Moses didn't blindly accept, the instruction of his master like that. There were 2 values at play, the world value and the supernatural value. Actually, Moses told him, when they embarked on their journey, the first thing the master did was to destroy a ship that belongs to the poor people and needy people. And Moses has to protest against that. As a youth organization, make sure that anytime you see evil, make sure that you stand up and protest against this, as the Ashabul Kahf did. And here is Moses is repeating the same episode. When Moses said, why are you destroying the ship and you want to drown the people on the ship? This is why it is permissible sometimes for the means to justify the end. It is permissible, sometimes conditional, for the means to justify the end. Because there was a tyrannical king. Any good ship is impounded by him. But what happened here? Moses' teacher actually, impaired the ship so that it can escape the empowerment of this man. But it's conditional on what? When we say the means justifies the end, it's conditional on your knowing that this will be the consequences of your act. Otherwise, don't do it. Number 2, they went further and the master killed an innocent soul. And Moses protested, using the world value. That's why there are always a conflict between 2 values. Islamic values are the highest idealistic values. So whenever they come into confrontation with any value, there is bound to be a collusion. And that collusion is going to create some sort of, a problem in your mind and in the mind of the community. Look what Moses did. Moses protested. But this is why it's good to destroy and eliminate evil when it started growing. As a youthful organization, never just, give a blind eye to anything that is evil. Stand as an organization, a united front, and try to eliminate all these sources. all the potential sources of evil in the community. If you don't do, you are not doing your functions, and it is a historical mission. You are assigned to do it by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third station is, with his master, they went to a town, they sought for somebody to just provide the provisions and house and residence for them, a host. They refused. But look what Moses and his sons did. The instructor, instead, there was a wall that was almost on the verge of collapsing. His teacher had to go and rebuild to maintain that wall. You know why? This is telling you, as a youthful organization, as a youth, go into voluntary activities in your life. Go into voluntary activities in your life, regardless of a benefit or no benefit. Go into voluntary activity. Because out of that voluntary action, you are going to get the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Musa alayhi salam, when he escaped Egypt to go to Midian, because he killed somebody there, when he went to Midian, he voluntarily drew water for the two ladies there. And out of that voluntary service, he was given a wife, and out of that voluntary service, the appointment with Allah came into being, and he was commissioned as the greatest prophet in Israel, sent to overthrow the most tyrannical system in the world, that is the system of Pharaoh. It's not a politics, it is spiritual and it is religion. And the third portion that we are going to stop, inshallah, is Zulqarnain, for the youth to learn. Who was Zulqarnain? As a youthful organization, you are given everything that you need. You are given numerical numbers. You are given intellectual backgrounds or intellectual basis or foundation. And you are now recognized formally by the Gambian government and the Supreme Islamic Council. So all the things that you need as a paraphernalia, as a tool for moving forward, is at your disposal. So what should you do? Use all the means available for you to achieve your end. Zulqarnain, when he went, I know within your program there is something called arbitration and reconciliation. In the programs of Fagami, I know that. There is reconciliation and there is arbitration, and there is that mutual bringing together of people who are at loggerheads. So for that matter, look at Zulqarnain. You should learn from that episode as well. Zulqarnain was a very powerful king, or a good man for that matter. But Allah has provided him with all the means necessary. But what happened? He followed the means. This is why, if you have your means, but you don't know your means, or you don't recognize them, or nobody told you about your means, you are always backwards. The secret of our backwardness as Gambians and generally as Africans lies in this secret. We have everything that Allah has given to mankind. We are bestowed and endowed with everything, and greater than even the Chinese, what was given to the Chinese. But our problem is in our inability to discover the potentials, to discover the means, to discover what is given to us. And the least of all, we don't even recognize that we've been gifted. Zulqarnain used the means. He went to a location, well, we call it the southern or the eastern location, where the sun, when it falls down, because this is the literal language for a layman, when the sun falls down, when the sun sets, it sets, to the observer as it is setting in a water. He found a population there. That population, this is why we have three different people in every community. People who are literal people stay beside the water, people who are in desert where there are no trees, and people who are living in mountainous areas. As an organization, you must know the psychology of each. The psychology of the people in Combo is different from the psychology of people in Fonyi. The psychology of people in Fonyi is completely different from the people of Basse, where the heat sometimes is 47 degrees centigrade. So you learn from Zulqarnain. For every community, you must establish a rule and principle how you're going to go about it in order to recruit. As my planet brother said in his speech, that this thing should not be localized. This organization is not only a local organization. It must be Gambianized, that to be a continental organization, and from there it becomes a universal organization. Because Fegami, as I see it, I see a vision. I see something that is greater than even the people who are today launching the amalgamation, the unification of these two, very powerful organization. Because combining the two, you have increased your strength. That is why where there is unity, there is strength, but where there is divisiveness or disunity, there is weakness. And I must warn you that the Freemason is always looking for faults in our ranks when the faults are there. And I beseech and I beg all the youthful organizations to make sure that those on the fringes, I beg you, come on board. Come on board, because this is not about personal interest. This is not about ideologies. It is in the Gambia that the youth are now, they are so much immersed in ideological battles. They have become proxy forces. They are fighting in the Gambian battleground for people who are completely absent and alien to the Gambian reality. So you must be very careful of that. This is the route which the Freemason always take, to cause division, to cause disunity, and at the end of the day we become weak, disrupted, and we are classified by Allah's verse in Surah Al Imran, وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا. So we must make sure that all of us stand under one umbrella and give hands to each other and form a very strong front and go about our business, that is propagating the word of Allah, that is rehabilitating mankind socially, and that is trying to build a very strong economic financial base. Because all that we are trying to do, look, Muslims would just give you an opinion that riba is haram. The banks in the Gambia are usurious banks. There is no doubt about that. But what is the substitute that you have built as a Muslim? What is the substitute? Islam is not that. Islam is not a single one way. It always gives you option. If you want to tell me it's haram, you have to build a substitute for me there. So Muslims, without finance and economy, whatever we are striving at, we will never arrive at it. So it is an advice, and I'm recommending that as an organization, make sure that you build a very solid, sustainable, powerful, strong economic base, so that you invest your energy, you invest your knowledge. All of you are knowledgeable people. Invest what you know and create money. Money is created, money is not donated, or money is not begged. If we want to live on that donation, we will be begging to the end of time, and beggars will never become leaders. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi.
بارك الله فيك شيخنا الحبيب شيخنا الجليل شيخنا الفاضل. We would like to thank